For centuries in Britain every queen and king would celebrate their birthday at the end of spring. It's done with pomp and circumstance within the square, behind the Horse Guards building in the open air. Right here the royal troops are carefully arrayed some time before they start their colorful parade. And when the king arrives 1 hour after 10, he is saluted by the bravest of the British men, who are most disciplined, courageous and well-bred, a corps of strapping lads dressed up in black and red. The bands, the household cavalry and personal troops, all standing there most patiently in rows and groups. Arms are presented and the national anthem is played while endless orders are obediently obeyed. They carry on with the inspection of the line to check once more if really everything is fine. The bands march briskly on and smartly swivel round, and horses with their riders prance across the ground. Then finally they troop the colour through the ranks, and later, back at home, the royals receive their thanks, while standing on their balcony above a happy crowd to reassure the masses and make them really proud. This is undoubtedly in every possible way a most spectacular and very British day. This truly splendid pageant doesn't just attract the subjects of the British crown. Oh no, in fact, for years a lot of German nationals have watched this fine display that never ever has been botched. The actions of it are so dexterous and skilled that all perfectionists in Germany are thrilled. As in the whole of Germany you would not find a fine event of this dimension and this kind, the jealous German government had to admit that there was nothing in their country that was fit to fill the people of their nation with the pride that gives them strength and serves them as an inner guide. As everybody knows, the Germans are quite prone to lose their nerve, to panic, clamour and to moan when economic troubles sweep across their land and quick solutions do not seem to be at hand. The German government was eager to surrender to Britain's expertise in national pomp and splendour. Resolved, the German state had once prepared a bill that stopped their federal state from going down the hill. They twigged their Anglo-Saxon neighbours were not flush, as at that time their revenues had not been very lush, and so they'd offered to the Brits a handsome sum to make their dark financial future look less glum. The clever Germans did this on the one condition that they could share from then on Britain's great tradition, in which the German people should be represented and afterwards come home inspired and contented. Reluctantly the British government gave in, because at heart they knew this was a mortal sin. In Germany, within no time, trooping the colour was to replace the Hall of Fame they call Valhalla. Most systematically the Germans would prepare their trip to the UK to claim their rightful share. Their nation eagerly began to look ahead to that great day the British then began to dread. That day, just within walking distance of Big Ben, some rather clumsy plump Westphalian countrymen from Germany's traditional local rifle clubs quite drunkenly streamed from the London city pubs to humbly watch Her Majesty the Queen approach as she was gently waving from her royal coach. Most boisterously Cologne's notorious blue funks, who by the British were regarded as mere punks, appeared dressed up in blue and white to have a ball and staged a carnival parade along the mall. They added extra colours to the general scene, enhancing thus this birthday party of the Queen. To have some Prussian glory at this great event, a folkloristic group from Potsdam had been sent to reenact the Prussian soldier king's long churls, who very much impressed the common British girls. But while those guys from Brandenburg came for a lark, the true Bavarians were here to make their mark. When Britain's annual parade was in full swing, some stout Bavarians held up a picture of their king. King Ludwig of the House of Wittelsbach was seen by all Bavarians as their equivalent of the Queen. Unlike the other Germans, they looked most assured. They certainly had not turned up here to be cured. The situation finally got out of hand when further down the street a big Bavarian band quite brazenly competed with those British chumps who'd joined the Queen's mast-mounted bands and corps of drums. The British eyed that rustic German delegation with sheer resentment and bewildered consternation. A group of coy black forest damsels that stood by responded meekly to this with a gentle sigh, whereas the Saxons happily recalled the times when they had hailed their kings with trumpets and loud chimes. The Prussians sang, to scorn Bavarian tradition, Heil dir im Siegerkranz in open opposition. Some Englishmen joined in, mistaking Prussia's hymn for their own national anthem, and looked pretty grim when they were briefly lectured on the facts and truth by an extremely clever-looking German youth. By now, for fear of escalation and a brawl, police were being reinforced right down the mall. But in the end the situation would calm down, because Her Majesty and members of the Crown turned up among this joyful host of staunch supporters, of loyal subjects and sensation-seeking press reporters, and spread their royal authority among the crowd, so that the Germans even looked a little cowed. While everybody gazed upon Her Majesty in awe, no further force was needed to uphold the law. The British and the Germans then began to roam towards the entrance of Her Majesty's huge home. With deference and deep respect they stood below to thank the royal household for their brilliant show. Here not the slightest trace of former hate and malice should spoil this final act outside the royal palace. There even was the perfect chance for Hermann Meyer to satisfy his hotly burning chief desire, which was to closely watch a Spitfire fly past, a sight that in his memory for years would last. The whole wide world just didn't have the faintest notion of the ensuing fuss and hubbub and commotion this day would cause within the European states, for fear this strange event might open up the gates to more eccentric thoughts that damaged the foundations of Europe's dated views and antiquated nations. However, the EU Council praised this Anglo-German deal, encouraging all other states to sign and seal agreements and smart pacts of this specific kind and leave their previous antipathies behind, as this effectively would cut their national debt, which after all would be one reason less to fret. Yet when King Charles III ascended to the throne, some Germans feared His Majesty might not be prone to grant their quaint traditional groups his royal permission to carry on with their smart Anglo-German mission. Thus they would miss their British birthday celebration, which had become so crucial to the German nation. The German people would be very much delighted if on that day their countrymen could still be sighted next to the British subjects honouring their king at this extraordinary pageant in late spring. And this is why they hope that with a wee persuasion His Majesty will welcome them on this occasion.